Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should I start? I'll start after 5 minutes after students have joined. Okay, I think I will start with my lecture. I hope I am audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So, in the starting series of lectures, we will be talking about software development life cycles, and ultimately, we would try to understand the agile methodology. And in your next lab session, also, where an external speaker is coming, she will be also giving you perspectives on the practical aspects of agile technology. And in our subsequent lab sessions, we will also learn how to handle the Jira software. But before we talk about agile technology, which is also a method of developing a software, we have to know the very basics of how agile technology or methodology came into being. Why it is important to understand this is we can only appreciate a new technology when we understand that what may have been not so good about the old technologies, and that is why having a perspective of what was before agile is extremely important. And so that is where the old models of software development life cycles come, and we will be discussing them at length, not only to understand the theory of it, but to also understand the thought process behind the software development life cycles that existed before, so that we can understand that how improvement is made over the period of time, that how technology evolves, and what led to creation of better software development life cycles and how they were proposed. So this is extremely important to know, and why it is important to know, it will get clear as we move ahead. So as I've mentioned, before we talk about what is agile, it is very important to know why we needed agile at the first place. It is also called as agile, and so pronunciation differs. So, and we have to understand what really led to it. What was the need that agile really was into the picture? So that is why a bit of perspective is extremely important, so that we can understand the new technology much better. So here are some facts which should not be very surprising. So most software projects go wrong, and in the series of lectures, I will also share an article which will tell you statistically the truth, or how true or accurate this statement is. Then most software projects do not follow any development process. This is also a fact. And that is because most of the software engineers and developers think of developing software as synonymous to programming. However, they are very different things. They are definitely linked to each other, but like for example, when you are doing this project in software engineering, it will be very different from the other projects you are doing. Why? Because here the motive will not only be to do programming to achieve something, but to do programming, to be able to understand the software development process. And that is why we are trying to learn that. Software projects that do follow some software development lifecycle process have much better chance of survival. Now, these are some of the facts that I want you to understand. Why do you think software projects that follow some sort of process have a better survival rate? What do you think is the reason behind it?
A structured way of doing things is means paves a path to follow. So, uh, write it between the process we didn't hinder from our goal.
Okay. And Gaurav also mentions certain details. Okay. The thing is that there is a sort of structure, as Pushkar mentioned, and a systematic way to do things. Uh, we are not throwing our darts in the darkness. When we follow a process, there is a particular way, a particular methodology we are following. Here is a fact for you that 17% of large IT projects go so badly that they threaten the very existence of the company. The McKinsey is the consultation firm, and this is a study by that. The same firm also reports that most large IT projects run 45% over budget, 7% over time, and deliver 56% less value than predicted. And these are not just made up figures, they have been actually done by a well known firm. And from these stats, it should be readily visible and evident that there could be something that we have not yet understood about software development and software engineering. So look at this figure. I just want you to look at this figure and tell me, how do you interpret it? So before we study any subject or before we invest time in doing anything, be it in academics or research, we must always question, why to bother? Why are we doing this at all? So the motive should be very clear. So we have to understand software development life cycles, because engineers sadly sometimes can get too busy to learn the software processes, which lead to what McKinsey reported, the failure rate and software projects not being able to achieve what they were estimated to achieve. So that is why we have to understand the software development life cycle and things like that. So on your screen, you can see a photograph. So how do you interpret this in context of software development? I want to understand. Progression of an idea. If you could elaborate more, Prasad. What is happening in the two scenarios? Anyone? Yeah. So the ultimate goal is to build a vehicle, which is your software analogy in this case, build on the top of previous ideas. But if you follow the timeline, like if you see what is happening, what is it that is differing? First scenario, the thing is not usable until the end. Okay. Yeah, so Varun says in the second scenario, we can use it and get the feedback. Hmm. And improve for good. Yeah. Anyone else wants to describe for the class what is exactly happening in this image? Also notice the emojis associated with each development milestone. And in the first pick, if you can see, you know, there is lack of clarity about which part should come before or which part should come later. Whereas in others, as some of you have already pointed out, that the software or the device to be made is usable at every point, as a result of which maybe it can be shared with the customer's feedback received. So over the period of time, it is getting improvised, it is growing, and as a result of which the company and the developers are learning a lot more about how to create a product, how to create a software. So generally, you know, uh, you must think when you are also developing some kind of software or web application about the approach that you're gonna take. So the motive when you're creating a software is obviously to build a functional working software, and two people may arrive it at the same position, you know, by a very different road, but there still will be stark differences in how the milestone differ across these groups, and that can make a difference between when further challenges arise. So even after the product 4 or 5 has been formed, now from software developer side it has been developed, now comes the client side who will be reviewing what has been created. So if a systematic and structured process is followed, then it is easier to incorporate the uncertainties and the risks that come with development of a software. So, and I also want you to have this kind of attitude when you are working on your projects. Don't just try to learn programming through creation of those projects. Try to learn about software process while you are creating the projects. So let us go back a bit to the history. In the 1990s, software was getting developed even during that time. Just a second. Yeah, during that time there was something called as application delivery lab. So anyone wants to say something? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are on.
Okay, thank you. So in the 1990s, there was something called as the application delivery lag. So the time between something that was desired at the end and the time it took to create that was quite huge. For example, even in aerospace and defense, where technology was used during that time, it could be more than 20 years before a complex system went into actual use. Space shuttle programs launched in 1982 used information and processing technologies from the 1960s. So this was a crisis that the people during that time were facing, especially the clients were facing. So by the time the technology came into the market, it was no longer relevant because the customers' needs had changed after that point of time. So this was a crisis that was happening in the 90s. So what was the reason of the frustration of the thought leaders during that time? So naturally, when you want to create something, but it is taking a long period of time to come into the market, the receivers or the customers of that particular application or software would be quite frustrated. Even as developers, you would be frustrated because by the time your product is out in the market, people's need have changed. So it is very important to understand that why it was happening during that time. What do you think could be the reason? What do you think could be the reason that there was an application delivery lag?
Ma'am, you can speak a bit louder. Voice is going low.
Is it better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it any better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's better.
Okay. So why do you think was the reason behind the application delivery lag during that time? So it has to do with something called as the waterfall model. The prevalent software development lifestyle model during that time was the waterfall model. And this is not to say that waterfall model was a flawed model. Uh, are you not able to hear even now?
We can hear now, but not too clear.
Not too clear. Okay, let me figure out the reason. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's audible, but not so much clear.
Okay, I don't understand what is the problem. Is it better now?
No, no.
Okay, let me do one thing. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it good? Hello?
It's better now.
Okay, fine. Then I'll try to speak on my mobile. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So everyone satisfied?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Moment, what was prevalent? Is my voice echoing?
It's echoing now.
Can anyone respond in the chat if they're able to hear me? Okay, cool. Then shall we go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So thank you. So the prevalent model during that time was the waterfall model. So what was the waterfall model that was creating the problems during that time? So essentially what happens in the waterfall model is that it is like an industrial manufacturing process. Imagine you are trying to manufacture a wristwatch. So when you are manufacturing a wristwatch, what will be your thought process? How will you go about manufacturing a wristwatch?
Select raw materials, assemble, and
Okay,
test it.
right. So there is a systematic process in which you already know that there is a wristwatch to be made. You gather the resources, you understand the process, and you keep on repeating that to manufacture a or manufacture wristwatch on an assembly line. So essentially, in the 90s, 80s, and 1990s, this was the approach that was followed for creating the software. So essentially, it was taken from the traditional engineering disciplines, in which from manufacturing industries or from industrial situations wherein something like wristwatch or some machinery was to be created. Then, so you understood what was required. So think of it in software terms. You understood what the client wanted from you in the form of the software that you were trying to create. Then, based on the understanding of the requirements, so basically, first of all, you have to be extremely clear on the requirements. If even at the first stage, you have not been able to take care of the basic requirements that your software makes, and based on, say, for example, 80% of the requirements, you try to create the design and then implement, test, and then basically maintain it. So by the time final product would come, you would never understand because you have not done testing. So you would never understand that 20% of the requirements are missing. So what essentially happened from this kind of model was that it was a step process. So this was the approach that was followed in 1980s and 1990s for creating the software. So why do you think it was called the waterfall model? This is a question. So is my question clear?
It moves from it moves from one stage to another stage.
Tarun, your voice is not clear.
Hello.
Yes, Tarun.
Yes, ma'am. We move from one stage to another stage as waterfall.
Okay, right. So it was called waterfall model. So as Prasad mentions, yeah, as mentioned by one of your friends, when water falls down, it never goes up, just like when one phase is done, it is never repeated. So Prasad, why do you think that going up? There was no feedback system. Yes. Oh, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible. Sometimes it's not audible.
Okay. To, so I'll try to see slowly. It was possible. It was not possible to go back and clear the system. Is my voice now better? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I think some students are facing problem in hearing me. Is it happening for everyone?
It's audible for me. Maybe something.
Okay. Please let me know. So I think because we are I am operating from your college's computer. So so let us try to work out this. Okay. All right. So why it was called waterfall model is the fact that the requirements had to be completed before moving on to the functional design, and functional design needed to be complete before the detailed design, and so on through the sequence. So as humans, we all know that it is very difficult to figure out everything right in the very beginning. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
So as humans, it is extremely challenging to figure out everything right in the beginning. So that is why when a next its previous process, then there can be certain challenges with it, because it is directly dependent on the previous process. Then what our next process or next output will be efficient only to the extent that the previous one has been, because there is a direct dependency. And if this dependency is not entirely fulfilled, then it will create some very serious problems. Waterfall model is especially difficult or more challenging when the application involves user interaction. If a software is something like manufacturing a wristwatch, then it should not be a problem, because you know the requirements right from the beginning and you know what to do. However, when there is a software that involves user interaction and user passing information back and forth to the system, then it can be really challenging and short sighted to use something, a strategy as waterfall model. And waterfall is just a name, okay? Focus on the approach that this model had taken into picture. The second reason was, as Prasad had also mentioned, that there are rarely provisions to return of the process. And Garvit has also reinforced that there was no feedback system. So what can be problematic with this is that if at any stage the performance has not been as expected, then it will be very costly to go back. Why? Because when you go back, then it is costing you time, efforts, and considerable energy to understand what was not taken care of. So this is why there was a lag by the time the product or the software actually came into the market during those times. And this led to the frustration of the many thought leaders also, many clients also, many customers also. And lastly, waterfall model is actually termed because once you are finished with the stage, that stage was frozen in. Is not right for the software you are trying to create. So am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
You are audible, but ma'am, sometimes your voice is breaking.
So breaking as in you are not able to. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the methodology that was followed in waterfall model was that you needed to set the project requirements and scope of the work, and you needed to design a product based on those predetermined requirements, build the product, test the products. And you must notice that only after building the product could actually be tested. That meant that the problems or the bugs would be discovered only during testing and then launched a finished product. So this process actually took a lot of time, and if a serious bug was noticed here, then it would create a lot of problems for the entire software. And that was the problem with the waterfall model. So let us try to see graphically what writing. So the essential theory or the essential ethos of waterfall model was to bring a complete product to the market. So hence, because of this vision, it could take many years before the team finished the products at hand. So this was the priority of waterfall model. that it needed to bring the complete product to the market. Problems were different for the developers and for the customers. For the customers, it meant that they were not able to get the product they desired or demanded at time, and by the time it actually came in the market, the nature of their problems or the nature of their desires for the product would change. For the developer, this was difficult because it so because of this waterfall approach, the customers and the developers both were struggling. As a result of which, what we had was a development graveyard of unfinished products. So, what do you think is so problematic about unfinished products? Wastage of input. Okay. What else? So, when someone starts to develop a software, especially at a large level, what is their expectation from that software? Okay. So, whenever a company starts to plan a software, what do you think is the vision of the company or the software? What is it that they're trying to achieve? Give so much of stiff competition between various companies and everything is IT these days. Yes, to get the market, to get the business. So ultimately, if the product or the software does not deliver as expected, then it could cost a lot of damage to the company's reputation, not only in terms of stock. Another competitive company could actually play out by using this gap and using it to their advantage. Then again, lots of energy and resources are lost, and the software does not achieve its required purpose. So just think for a moment that this approach in waterfall model systematic approach to it. However, it may have worked in the 1980s and 1990s, but by the time it was 2000, waterfall model was already failing. Now, I have a question in front of you. Why do you think that a model that could have worked quite well in previous times was no longer relevant as the times changed? What do you think could be the core reason behind it?
Maybe, I mean, mostly because at that time we were not so much inclined on solving the type of problems which that we are like supposed to right now at this era.
Okay. So you mean to say we were not solving the problems during that time that solving now?
Yes, yes.
So what is the difference between the problems that we were solving then, Ayush, and what we are trying to solve now?
I mean, like the world was not so much connected
Okay.
as much it is right now, because industrial of many reasons like industrialization and internet.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Ayush. Okay. So Sakshi says that probably because technologies are changing at a faster pace now. So that could be the reason that the model is no longer relevant. Sakshi, would you like to elaborate on that? See, before we ever embrace a new tech, why the old technology is no longer relevant. Because if you can develop this eye for understanding that what is no longer relevant, then probably tomorrow you can design your own software development life cycle after observing things very closely. So the thing is that obviously the nature of problems changed. We realized that technology can do so much more and much more fastly. And when people sort of woke up to the power of technology and to the problems, then they automatically wanted things much faster. Anyway, our world is uh, has a habit of now getting everything fast. And Prasad mentions that people want their products to last longer. Okay, so how does the market demand and people wanting after instant things made waterfall model irrelevant? It was working quite well for the 2 decades. Why suddenly it had to face the backlash of the developers? Because of the costs associated with waterfall model. As you can see that a systematic process was followed and testing the bugs, creating a newer version was way more costly. And you could not know the serious problems with the software unless and until you had actually tested it. And you could only test a full-fledged software after it was built completely. And before the product was launched into the market. So debugging was costly. Brainstorming over that was costly. For a moment, just imagine. So let us look at your projects. In the lab today, we'll be doing the requirement engineering exercise. Unless and until we have already known the requirements, because the requirement stage has to be frozen in time for the design phase to come up. Until and unless this design phase is frozen in time, then implementation cannot happen. So there's a strong dependency. Imagine if you have fallen short of your requirements, and based on 80% of the requirements, you have created the design. But according to you, you have understood the requirements. You end up creating a design, you test, and then it will be deeply costly to solve these problems going forward. So that is why waterfall model, although it was also related to how things were changing, but its downfall could also be attributed to the shortcomings it had associated with it. Naturally, it paved way for some better model. So as you a linear approach, you had to know what exactly you wanted to build. Now, how often as humans or even as intelligent, well-trained, with good degree humans can we ever know 100% what exactly we want to build? There is almost always something that we miss out on. And that is natural because as humans, we have it was extremely difficult to know exactly what you want to build right from the starting of your projects. I also want you to appreciate this fact when you are working on your real life project. Sit with your team and try to understand how challenging it is to know exactly what you want to build, to understand the functional, non-functional requirements of your software. Furthermore, waterfall model may have worked quite well for manufacturing processes in industry, but it was quite restrictive for software development, which is not only an engineering, but it also a craft. It's also an art. So as Professor Michael from MIT has also mentioned, that software development is an invention process. We need to go back and forth across different steps. These projects are not sequential. Tinkered a bit in software development, and you may have also experienced how many times you had to go back and forth between the solutions, trying to understand the problem and then coming back to solution and improving it. And experience in software process is very important to understand the problems with the waterfall model. With waterfall model, you have to wait till the end to be able to test the software. Imagine if you could identify the problem halfway through your software development, and imagine a scenario in which you are able to understand the problem only at the end. So as a developer, how would that make you feel? So we are so what is the cost of doing testing at the end? What is so, you know, what could be so damaging about testing your software in the end? So called end, when you feel it has been made. So the thing we need to know is, Tarun, I would like to respond to you. Things will never go entirely useless. But even if they are not useful to the extent we wanted it to, there is a dissatisfaction and disappointment among the consumers. Yes, if we make mistakes initially, they are easy to recover. So let me tell you a story in this context. So suppose you are in a garden and you are a gardener, okay, and you are trying to plant certain plants and you can see them growing. But however, there are some plants that are not useful for the growth of your other plants. But if you can uproot them right at the beginning, it is easy to uproot a smaller, weaker plant as compared to that plant tree. So similarly, from this analogy, you can understand that if we know problems with our software in the beginning, it can be easier to recover from that. And that is why teamwork and brainstorming really helps. And Garvit also reinforces the same point by saying that it is easy to debug a single problem rather than debugging a bunch of problems at the clarity on how the information was flowing. So as a result, there were many, many products. In fact, I urge you to read some magazine from 1980s and 1990s and see what they are saying about the software development and the software development failure rates and how some software projects were never shipped out in the market. Model faltered in the 1980s and the early 1990s. As a result, the companies realized there was a moment of epiphany for the various software development companies. They realized that they can build better products if they can change the design and specification, get feedback from the customers, and continually up to the fact that this to and fro movement between software development and software testing was extremely crucial to the success of the final product. Whereas in the waterfall model, the final product was getting done, then only The other thing was waterfall model did not provide any means for risk assessment and management during the life cycle of the project. So naturally in after 15 years, agile technology was born. So in our next class, we will be talking about spiral model and details about spiral model. And then later on, we will build on that knowledge of how from waterfall and spiral model, agile technology was developed. Any questions till now? So hopefully I have been able to share with you the basics of waterfall model and how waterfall model was relevant during that time and what were the problems with the waterfall model. On the weekend, I will also be launching a quiz on waterfall model so that you can assess your understanding of the water. Because to be able to understand spiral model, it is, and basically to understand every software development life cycle that we will be discussing in this class, it is important that you thoroughly understand the previous process behind it. Why? Because we can appreciate new technology much better only if we have understood the previous technology. The technology is very important. In fact, much more important than the technology itself. Why? Because when you understand the process behind the invention of the new technology, then tomorrow you can play a very important role in creating the technologies that we are studying about today. So this was for today's lecture. If you have any questions, any questions?
No questions I have.
So hopefully you understood the waterfall model. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
No questions I have.
So I will be launching a small quiz on waterfall model over the weekend. I request you to have a look at and try to understand your understanding of it. Is that okay? Okay. So the functional and non-functional requirements in the software. So I will be taking a lecture for another 30 minutes on what are we going to do in the lab. And then you will have to work among your groups to come out with the specifications of the software requirements. So we will break out for 10 minutes and we will meet each other again at 3 p.m. for the lab session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.